Happy Tuesday, All Things Montessori community. How's everybody doing? It is the most gorgeous day here. I'm in Virginia. It is just bright blue sky, just perfect. It's like 60 degrees. Oh, it's really nice. I've had quite a busy month. My husband and I are in just a kind of crazy transition right now, and he's in finals week and things are nuts, but I'm so excited about this episode today. Jamie is here and we have a few updates that we share. And then we go into talking about mentorship. I've gotten a lot of questions recently about mentorship, and it is very apparent to me that it's a really big issue. And I remember feeling like that too in the classroom. And having a mentor, a friend that support, it makes all the difference in the world. So Jamie has amazing insight. So I hope you guys really enjoy. This episode is brought to you by Patreon. We have a new patron to welcome to our Patreon community. Alana, thank you so much for becoming a patron of All Things Montessori. We're so happy you're here. If you want to become a patron like these incredible human beings, you can click on the link below and just follow the steps from there. There are a few different tiers that you can select. It's so lovely to have all of you in our community, whether you are a patron or you're just a supporter. Thank you so much. This episode is also brought to you by Sapling Supply. Sapling Supply is an amazing handmade Montessori furniture company run by two Montessori dads, and they are such incredible human beings and they make such an incredible product. So you can go ahead on over to Sapling Supply's website, which is linked below, and you can get 10% off anything store-wide using our promo code ATM10. Hey Jamie, how are you?
Hey Rachel, I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm great. I'm glad we're getting to record. Why don't you tell the listeners what happened yesterday and why we couldn't record?
Oh, yeah. Well, and we'll see if we continue to hear it here today. There's apparently someone in our neighborhood has decided to clear a little bit of an empty wooded lot. So chippers and chainsaws nonstop in my neighborhood. But it's raining today, so I'm sort of hopeful that they're just not going to do it and we can manage to record without chippers and chainsaws. And, you know, it's one of those things, too, where it's still like, it's not like I'm going to go hang out in a cafe for a few hours to get away from the noise in my neighborhood. So we're all just home listening to the noise.
Yes. Totally. I feel like the whole like work from home thing has we've talked about this before, you know, it was so romantic in the beginning, but now it's just become, it's what we're doing, and you have to put up with whatever your neighbors are doing.
Exactly.
Because going to a coffee shop, having a beautiful little working on your laptop at a cute cafe. No, that doesn't. Yeah, it's not happening now.
Not quite yet. I feel like we're getting closer to that world returning. But
we are. We sure are,
but not quite yet. So yes, we've been enjoying the sounds. The last few days, but
all the sounds. I know. It's always something new, huh? I guess. I don't know.
Busy time, but no, it's good to get back to recording something again. So
super fun. We were just sort of talking about, I guess in a few months it'll be 2 years of All Things Montessori, and our voices have been recording for a long time, and it was not easy in the beginning, specifically because we were just nervous to put stuff out there, and then, you know, also figuring out how to edit, our voices so we sounded pleasing. If I go back and listen to some of our first episodes, oh my gosh, the editing is so bad.
Yeah, we've definitely learned in the process.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And everybody who's been there since the beginning or is just joining, thank you so much for being with us on this, amazing journey, one that started without a pandemic, and we're still in one now. So crazy.
But, you know, the light is at the end of the tunnel a bit, at least.
Yes.
So
yes, we're both double vaccinated.
We are.
Woohoo.
I've never been so excited to get a shot in my entire life.
Same.
So
I know.
And very soon my whole family will be. So I'm thrilled. It takes a huge weight off you when you're not not worried in the same way. Still careful, still really responsible, of course, but
of course.
But yeah, without so much of that fear, it's pretty amazing.
I think the fear is, for me, the fear and the anxiety, just having that kind of subside.
Yep.
You know, being able to go to the grocery store or like run an errand and not, you know, still wearing my mask, of course, still being careful, but not, you know, panic, having that, oh gosh, like, I wonder if someone touched that cart, or, oh, I was kind of close to that person, you know, whatever. Things that I never used to really worry about. It's nice to sort of have that be a little bit to the side.
Yep.
But still being careful and knowing that we're still really in this. You know, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but we're still in the tunnel.
Yeah, there's still a ways to go. Yeah. And just, I worried, I really worried about, my kids, my husband, my parents. And so, it's nice to know they're all safe and protected too. There's just so many unknowns with this virus. So yeah, it's a whole new world, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And there's some, I think we should share we've got a few updates and changes to share with our listeners here as well.
Yeah, we do. We do. Yeah.
I think first of all, like, the podcast is going to change a little bit. I'm really busy getting Sea Lavender and Rising Tide really off the ground and going. And so for the podcast, you, Rachel, are going to really take the lead. And I'll be like a regular guest, maybe we'll probably do a regular Ask Jamie feature or something, if people submit some questions or we come up with some ideas. So I'll still be around. But largely, Rachel, you're going to take it on and start shifting slightly from conversations just with me to probably some conversations with lots of other people.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, of course, I look at it with rose-colored glasses because it was so fun to just chat with you all the time and talk about Montessori for hours on end. And we will still do that. I'm really excited that despite everything you've going on, you'll still chime in here from time to time and, be a regular kind of guest on the podcast. And exactly what you said, ask Jamie, kind of like, your questions that you want answered. And Jamie has such a wealth of knowledge. I think that'll be such an amazing thing to have on the podcast. But yeah, so I just launched a teacher series that's going to continue for as long as I continue to interview teachers. I'm so excited because I think it's so fun to just hear from teachers in the classroom, especially with the year that everybody has been having. It's so fun. And then, I'm going to, shift it to more. Our podcast is called All Things Montessori for a reason, because we cover all things Montessori. So as being the host now, I'm going to turn to interviewing all kinds of Montessorians all over the country and hopefully all over the world. So I'm super excited about it. And I, of course, will continue to update you guys, but just thank you so much for being with us for this part of the journey. And it's not ending. It's just sort of, we're going in a new chapter.
Yeah.
Of All Things Montessori. So it'll be amazing.
Yeah, it's super exciting. And so that's a slight shift. And then just another kind of update on what's going on with with other plans. Sea Lavender is ready to open in the fall. We're super excited. We've enrolled a wonderful community of families. But there's a little change there too, and that is I am going to lead the classroom there next year, and Rachel is not going to be able to be a part of Sea Lavender after all. So
it's a bittersweet announcement, of course. Sea Lavender is amazing, and I believe in the mission so strongly, and I can't wait to watch the journey. But for a multitude of reasons, and a lot of them being personal and family reasons, I won't be able to be up with Sea Lavender up in New Jersey on the beautiful New Jersey shore. And I'm of course very sad, but I'm also delighted and happy that I can be updated and watch the journey. And I'm sure I'll be updating you guys when I hear from her on the podcast, if there's fun things to share. And it's definitely, again, it's bittersweet's the word that comes to my mind. However, it is such an amazing school and it's going to be incredible. So I hope everybody continues to watch that journey, because I know that I will be.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We're really excited. We've really developed a diverse community of families. We're finalizing our space and getting started on some of the remodeling we need to do. I'm really excited about it, and I've got a great partner. Nicole Baychek is going to work with me in that classroom, helping out, and I'm excited because we're going to really. It is a place where we're going to really, allow children, welcome, encourage children to be their authentic selves in our environment. We're going to build a really strong community, and we're going to, implement all the Montessori principles, and work with our parent community as well. And we're going to try new things. I mean, I'm going to really focus on observation and responding to what the observation of the children show me. I'm excited. I'm really excited to get in the classroom with children.
It's amazing.
It's going to be, we're going to have just a great time. So, and it's a 6 to 12 classroom. We actually have children at all levels. We're taking some children with no Montessori experience. We're taking some children with, Montessori experience. It's going to be a fantastic adventure. And Rising Tide will be co-located there with Sea Lavender. So we'll be able to continue to produce resource videos for teachers and parents, and, sort of keep track of what we're learning in the work that we do at Sea Lavender. So yeah, we're amazing. We're super, super excited. It's going to be an amazing adventure.
It's incredible. I'm so thrilled about everything that's happening there. And I think it's extremely groundbreaking in so many amazing ways, and trying those new things in the classroom. I'm just so excited about it all, and I can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah, so it's going to be,
that's our big news.
Yeah.
And then Jamie, they can follow Sea Lavender's journey online. Correct?
Yes. I mean, we do have some social media that we will eventually start paying better attention to.
Well, I meant more like September, not now.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely once we're up and running. And then you can always see what's going on with Rising Tide, as well. Because, we've got some new exciting content that will come out in the next few weeks. And some real parent focused stuff, some things on building relationships with children. And, starting next year, we'll have a lot more content outside of the elementary level. So birth to 6 content and 12 to 18 content. So yeah, we're excited.
I love it. That's great. So while I have you here, Jamie, I wanted to do a little mini podcast episode too, after our updates. And one thing that really came to mind, with the year, with the pandemic, but also just in general, I think this is a big issue, is one of mentorship and knowing where and how to get mentorship. I think a lot of teachers, maybe they already have a mentor, like you were my mentor, you still are.
But I think also what you told me a lot before is, when I was working in the classroom, I was by myself. I didn't have an elementary staff. So I think a lot of teachers have, I know that your experience, Jamie, you had a teacher right next door to you.
Yeah.
You had somebody that you could go to and ask a question right on the spot, which is amazing. But I've been getting some questions about mentorship. So I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit and hear what you had to say about how to get mentorship in general in this time.
I think it's something I hear really consistently from not just teachers, but parents and administrators and all school staff, that they are constantly, looking for more support for the work that they're doing, for guidance, for resources. It's definitely a huge need. This work is not easy. I mean, this work is hard. It's hard work to really do Montessori, partly because, our culture has shifted in a lot of ways. Like I was looking for furniture, and you can find Montessori type furniture at all sorts of places now that, so there are certain things that have shifted in our culture to be more accepting of some of the basic principles of Montessori, like child-sized furniture. But it's still, the dominant education and parenting culture, is not quite in line with some of our principles and what we know to be true about children. So that means that regularly, not only are you doing this work that takes a lot of, energy and, to be individually responsive to every child, but then you're also always pushing against some of the more traditional views of how to approach children. So that can take its toll. And so it's really, important to build a support network and some mentorship for yourselves. And what I always encourage teachers to do is, first see what you can find within your school. Like, who is there? Like you said, Rachel, I was lucky to have a mentor right next door, a very experienced teacher, really grounded in strong AMI principles who was always there for me, guiding and supporting. And I think I helped her out too, eventually. I wasn't just taking.
I'm sure.
There was some give and take. But especially in my first few years of teaching, she was just a fantastic resource and really helped me be able to do what I did in the classroom. So I would really encourage you to build that into your school. See who you have in your school, because having that sort of day-to-day resource is helpful. And that's something to talk to your administrators about. Some administrators can play that role in a lot of ways, even if they're not elementary or even if they're not trained at the level that you're teaching. It doesn't matter. They can read the books and understand the Montessori principles and still be there. They may not be able to help you make a particular material or different things like that, but they sure can be a support and a mentor in that way. So yeah, that would be my first sort of advice, is really bringing this need to your school and start, as a whole, to start seeing how you can start meeting that need.
Absolutely.
But sometimes you need more, right? Sometimes what's available in your school isn't enough. Or everybody needs to hear a different voice. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gone and worked, done some coaching at schools, and sometimes like regular ongoing coaching, and sometimes just a one-off or, kind of thing, where I hear from administrators or, pedagogical heads of school, anyone working in leadership in the school of, we say this is, I've said this before, but it does help sometimes to have a different voice saying it. This is true for coaching and supporting school staff, but it's also true for parent support, that sometimes it's just useful to have a different voice, not part of your community, come in and say relatively the same things, but the different voice and the sort of different approach can have a different impact. So that's the next thing, like reach out to your training center and see who they have available, or who they recommend for mentorship and coaching and support.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of, growing up, your mom will tell you the same thing over and over again. And then somebody else will tell you the same thing and you'll listen to them, but you won't listen to your mom.
Right. Yep.
It's, I know I'm making a joke, but like, it's so true because, in the environment that you work in, you're dealing with so many things and the same things are, trickling around your brain. And sometimes it's just nice to have a third party or just somebody else point out something that it's maybe it's obvious, maybe it's not. And just, sort of the comfort of, oh, they see it too. Or, oh, yes. Like I've been wanting the answer to that question. It's so helpful to have that. And I would also highly recommend reaching out to your training center. I was lucky enough to work close to WMI, my training center, and have trainers and experts come in because parents really respond to that. As they should, because, trainers, Jamie, obviously you guys really know what you're talking about and you can talk at a level that parents, I think sometimes just really need that expert, they just need that to really, get some new knowledge or get a new perspective, Yeah.
Yeah. I think really reach out to your trainers. They're all super busy, but this work is really important to them. And I think all the trainers I know wish and want and try to spend as much time out in classrooms, out with teachers, working with parents as they possibly can. So even if you're, you reach out to your training center that your diploma's from, but you can reach out to any training center and see what sort of resources are available. And that is really, it's really a useful resource. When I was teaching in Seattle, we were the only AMI school in the state at the time. There was just not a lot of Montessori present, even in the Seattle area, just a handful of schools. And so a number of us at these different schools started meeting like one Saturday a month, elementary teachers, just to support each other. So we did that for a good 2 or 3 years. Like sometimes it's hard to sustain those things and you'll go through phases, but I found that so valuable. And those people, they're still dear friends of mine, right? I know they are, even though we haven't seen each other in a while. We haven't talked in a while. But those relationships were really valuable. And so we just took turns hosting each other either at our homes or in one of our classrooms. Sometimes we had topics that we went through. Sometimes we looked at making materials. Sometimes we just got together and just chatted on however we felt like chatting. So that was really an amazing experience. So I encourage you to get to know the other people in your area and start having some of these gatherings.
Yes. A community is so important, especially, teachers work round the clock just because even if you're not working, you're thinking about it, it's all consuming. So being with those who also really get that and you can just sort of be together and know that you're not alone, that you're all going through similar stuff. it's just sort of good for your soul, and really good for you as a teacher, because sometimes if you feel alone or bogged down by work, that can come out, and then you can accidentally take it out, in the classroom in some way. And nobody, it's not on purpose. It's just because maybe you're feeling burnout or anything like that. So a phone call, a community gathering, Zoom call, a happy hour, whatever, those they really, really help.
And then, there are all sorts of places that offer more formal, like coaching, or that can build. And so, search for those resources. I mean, we were doing that at Rising Tide, but there's, lots of places. So if you're looking for that, you can find different individuals and organizations that can support you with some formal coaching. I think in every profession, it's really important to periodically do some conscious, formal reflection with an external person. You can do a lot of that internally at a school, but periodically it's useful to have some fresh eyes. So I encourage all administrators to make sure that they're budgeting for coaching for their schools on a regular basis, and then make sure that, that administrators are looking for coaching for them on a regular basis as well. Because we all have so much to learn and grow, even those of us that have, decades of experience in this work. I'm still discovering new things and learning new things all the time. And yet I still coach other people, so it's,
right.
I think that keeping in mind that does provide support when we can have some of that external work, and then also building some clear mechanisms internally in a school to support, are there regular one-on-one meetings with administrators? Are the different levels meeting as a group on a regular basis? I think also really important to keep in mind with these staff meetings and things is that anything that could be put in an email or on a piece of paper for them to read should be done that way.
Yes.
So it is not going to support a culture of growth and mentorship to have all your staff meetings be about how Carline works, or
oh my gosh,
who's covering recess. Right.
I'm laughing because it's so true.
And I know it's easy to feel like you need to say that stuff to people in person and whatever. But if that's the substance of the bulk of staff meetings, you're missing a really important and valuable opportunity for growth and support and mentorship within your school staff meetings.
Absolutely.
So as much as possible, make that kind of stuff. Or, you can make a quick video. You don't have to put everything in a written email. It's really easy to make a quick video of everything you might say at a staff meeting and then just send it out to people.
Yes.
So that the staff meetings can be about, how are we, let's take some basic principles and let's do some reflection on how we're doing. How are we doing with freedom, discipline, and responsibility throughout the school? How do we see it happening in the classrooms? How do we see it happening in the hallways? How do we see it happening at recess? Where do we, those are the kinds of things that can provide really great substantive meetings. How are we implementing our A-bar values into the work that we do every day? How do we exhibit ourselves as anti-biased and anti-racist in our classrooms? You want to get help on all these ideas periodically, but also a key part of it is making sure that your lens about the work is always in place and you're being critical and reflecting on it. So we have a lot of resources in our own communities to help us with coaching with mentorship. But it requires a real conscious engagement with those because it's very easy to fall back on dealing with the mundane, which of course, sometimes we need to, let's all just sit down and talk about how we do our lunch cleanup and see if we can find some better systems, certainly. But we don't want to just only talk about those kinds of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause any one of those topics, it could be hours that you're talking about it. So I think it's really important to keep that in mind. And like you were saying, Jamie, anything that can be a video or an email or something else, be really clear on that, but, have the space to support your staff, your teachers, the way that, that they're showing you that they need the support. That's super important because everyone's tired, everyone's exhausted, everyone has a million things to do, but also everybody wants the support too. So it's it's a balance, it's a dance that you have to sort of have to work at. But it's definitely, those meetings and those gatherings can really fuel a sense of community. That's really important for a school to survive and to thrive.
Yeah. And keep in mind, like parents really need this kind of support and coaching and mentorship also. I mean, parents haven't been trained. None of us went to training on how to be a parent. It's, a complete learn on the job situation. And, even those of us that had like Montessori training before having children, being a parent's a whole different ballgame.
Sure.
And Montessori's different at home as a parent when you have that deep relationship with the child. So parents too, reach out for the coaching and support and mentorship, join some groups that can help you, ask for some guidance from your school administration, from the teachers to help, because that, again, is invaluable. I relied on a lot of experienced parents when my kids were little for, or not even just little, let's be honest. You go through even as through the teenage years, which, we will have an empty nest in the fall. So
you're so close.
I know we're
so close.
I know we're not done. I know it doesn't end, but it is a completely new phase.
It totally is.
So, so that's the other thing too for parents, and by parents I mean anyone who's acting in the role of parent. I don't care about the official designated relationship. Yeah. Whoever's acting in that role, like that requires some support and coaching too. So seek out, there's all sorts of Facebook groups, other social media groups. Sometimes that can you have to screen some of what you read in there, depending. For sure. But sometimes it can be a really great resource too for guidance and inspiration. Yeah,
definitely. Definitely. Oh man, Jamie, this has been so fun to chat, and thank you for all of those amazing insights you just provided. I think that's such a great way to at least start thinking about how to get mentorship, maybe acting on it, and any administrators just sort of rethinking some things. That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's important. It's important, and especially this time of year when at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, we are looking toward the end of the school year is in sight, but not quite close enough for most teachers and administrators right now.
May is always long.
Yes. And so, but it's also a time when inevitably our minds start to think about next school year. Like we start thinking about like, oh, I'm not going to deal with that this year, but next year. And so, so start jotting those things down and start building a plan for how next year is going to look and how you're going to get support for yourselves and how you're going to build a culture of mentorship in your schools. Because I think if that pervades not just the classroom, because of course we expect it to happen in the classroom, right? Like we're helping all the children become mentors for each other. So we just need to add that to to the whole school culture, including all the adults and the parents and everyone, and just have that be a part of what we do for each other, and then where we seek additional help when we need it, or when it will give us the right little burst of energy.
Right. Right.
So thanks, Rachel. This is fun. And we'll just, we'll have another chat before too long, but people can, like if you're really specifically wanting to ask some questions of me, or, go ahead and submit them on social media or email us or whatever. And
Absolutely.
then, next time I'm back, we can start digging into some of those questions.
Sounds awesome. Yay. Thanks, Jamie.